All right, guys. So, welcome to the Childcare Spotlight. I'm Ashley, your kid care coach, and I'm here today with India Ree, and she is a part of Lynn's Kids Childcare Center. So, we're going to talk a little bit about you. So, tell me a little bit about you and your journey into childcare. Like, what is the story behind Lynn's Kids?
Well, first, thank you for having me today. And then second, so Lynn's Kids Childcare is a family-owned and operated business. My mom, actually, Shantae Brown Ivory, started the business over 20 years ago at this point.
Oh, wow.
So it started as an in-home childcare center, and as folks who have parents who have in-home businesses can attest, kind of just get wrapped up into it, right? And then I grew to become an adult, and I went off to college and kind of spread my wings a little bit. But my mom kept the fort moving, and she actually came to this location where we are now. I would say she's been here about 11 years. And once I finished school, I kind of joined the fort, and I have been a part of the business formally now for about 11 years. So our story is really special because it just shows the progress of growth, right? So you started as an in-home progress in a business, and then you let your dreams and your goals really drive you forward. So we're happy to be here.
I love that. So, where was she previously? So, you've been here for about 11 years?
We've been here about 11 years. So again, it was an in-home childcare center right at 4013 Chatsmont Avenue. So again, right in East Baltimore, Maryland still, but more so by the Gardenville area. So folks who are unique to Baltimore, and we were right in the intersection of that area.
So how do you feel like the transition was with you, like seeing the growth from like being a child care provider, like in home, to now having like a full blown center? Like, how was that transition, you feel?
I think it's like amazing to see how things grow, right? Like starting there was just like something small and something that you had to know about if you maybe drove on our block, right? So to see the families that she served and to see the joy and the partnerships that she started to build, to have her tell me things like, oh my gosh, one of my first childcare students or one of my first daycare kids, right? Like that term that we use interchangeably, they're now like 19 or 20 or 21, and I'm like, wow, right? Like that for me is really special to witness that. And then to now know that she's since then blossomed in families that she served when they were her students now have their own families, and they're reaching back out like, Miss Shante, I didn't know you still do daycare. So that like growth is really, really special.
Yeah, and I think that people don't always understand like the impact that a childcare program can make in the community, right?
Yes.
It's like being an in-home or having a childcare center and the generations of families that you serve, it really means so much when you are a childcare provider. It means so much to the families that they have that support of somebody who's been in business for 20 something years, and the generations that you're not only serving them and the good memories that they can have with that. Like it really is a special community that could be built around childcare. It's really beautiful.
I agree. I also think of it from like a biblical standpoint, like generation serving generation. Like that's a really beautiful connection, and it just is what brings us special and what makes the world go round.
So why do you think that? Like, what was the purpose of starting the in-home? Like, what was the purpose behind it?
So transparently, my mom fell with some health concerns, and it was easier to kind of, stay at home and do business at home and to support other families, other working moms, and then support her own family, because at that time we were children ourselves. I was a teenager and I have two older brothers. So just helping her to raise her family alongside supporting raising other families was really special to her. And then she always wanted to be an entrepreneur and work for herself, right? So what better way to kind of just let a negative situation spin to a positive.
And look at everything as blossomed.
Right, exactly.
Life's unexpected, but it can definitely turn into something that you maybe couldn't have dreamed of at like this point in time. So how do you feel about like growing up? I mean, like how do you feel like that has impacted you and your growth like as a person and in the fields?
I think for me, it has taught me resiliency. I think it has taught me the power of curiosity, the power of connection, the power of love, and those things are really, really special. I'm an educator now myself, so I have a master's in education, and I am the classroom teacher for our pre-kindergarten program. So for me, using what I was gaining all of these skills and all of these knowledges, and I was always the kid with like report card notes that say things like talks too much, or but also very outspoken. He's a very inquisitive student, and I laugh jokingly because I'm a member of a sorority, and that's my line name, Inquisitive Ivy, right? So I think it's a really beautiful tall tale sign that life gives you what you need, and it grows inside of you, and we're planting seeds, and then one day they blossom. And so to answer your question specifically, I think for me that has helped me in my teaching practice. I love to now have 16 students that I can teach them the power of their voice. I can help them to understand the things that are already inside of them. And now that God gave you these gifts, how can we use them? Right? Even at the age of 3 or 4, but almost now 5, right? Because that growth of the birthday kind of happens, and we're getting them ready for kindergarten in the fall. So it's just like a really beautiful experience to be able to be this one person, this one vessel who had their own individual experience, and now can also take my experience to help others learn theirs. And that's really special.
So just side note, also on my report card, my mom would say, also said talks too much. And here we are doing a podcast, so it worked out.
So shout out to any person who may listen to this video who was ever told, you talk too much. For me, you talk too quickly.
Right.
Because I really believe that's a sign that we have so much to share and so much to say, and that we should not be made to mute our voices.
Yeah, absolutely not. Or be ashamed that we like to talk, because there is a format in which we can excel. Because we like to
exactly. And this is a gift. So now that we know that, let's use it in a way that we talk about things that matter.
Right, exactly. Okay, so tell me more specifically about the center itself.
Sure.
What makes you guys unique?
Again, the fact that I think one thing that sets us aside from other businesses is that we are a family-led business taking care of other families. That's something that I think is super special. Most of our staff are related to us by blood, and so that just allows us to connect with our own family in a professional capacity. It just allows us to really have a very specific culture to us. And I think what makes us really special is the fact that we're families serving other families, but also that we believe in the power of voices. We believe in affirming and empowering these students. Like, I care about the culture here. I care about how my staff feels when they walk through the door, right? I want them to wake up and it's been a tough morning in their personal life, but they can say, but at least at work, I'm gonna be okay. Right? I care about the students that walk through these doors, that, whatever is happening at home and in their personal lives, their children, they can't control that. But they can control that when I get to Miss Ivy's classroom, when I get to school, things are going to be okay.
Exactly. I mean, they're here sometimes more than they are when they're at home. And that speaks volumes, that like that community vibe, that family vibe is here, and they have a safe space to go to. Like that is so much needed right now, because we don't know environmentally, what goes on in their houses, but we can create a safe space for them in our programs.
Exactly. And that is so important. And then, like, lastly, I always remember the saying, like, people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel, right? So this is a home away from home, not only for students, but also for staff, right? So we need this space to always feel like a second home. Right. A second home.
So what exact ages do you guys serve?
Sure. So your littlest baby,
tiny baby,
your tiny baby. Now, granted, most families are not enrolling that young, but we are licensed to enroll that young. Some families have very specific schedules and budgets to stick to, and sometimes, they may have to be called back to work, and that is just the reality, unfortunately, of our culture at large. So 6 weeks is our enrollment age, and we serve children through age 5 at this time.
Okay. So I saw and researched a little bit about your pre-K program through the grant, the pre-K expansion grant. So tell me a little bit about that program.
Gotcha. So so you speak to our pre-K3 or pre-K4 pre-kindergarten service program. So yes, as a grantee of the Maryland Pre-Kindergarten Expansion Grant, we love that we can offer services for the magic word FREE, free.
We like free.
We offer services for them from 8:30 to 3 p.m. To support working families, we do offer that wraparound hour from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning, and then also on the back end, those 2 wraparound hours from about 3 to 5, Monday through Friday. With our pre-kindergarten program, one thing that I love is that we have so much support. We have so much so many opportunities that we partner with other providers that also have the pre-kindergarten expansion grant. So maybe about 3 weeks ago now, Lens Kids Childcare participated in the mayor and Baltimore City's pre-K kickoff event.
I did see that.
Yes. So Baltimore Early Learning was there, but Baltimore City Schools, other private providers like myself. And then just being able to be in spaces like that and rooms like that to really echo the work alongside our colleagues, that is special. So that's like at the professional level, supporting the staff, and then just to like support the students and their families directly. My program prides itself that we partner with an organization called Improving Education. So Improving Education has an all children readiness initiative right now. So they allow coaches to come into your classroom. We're offering that differentiation through their coaching models. They help us to, sharp what we already do well, and then find areas that we can improve to better serve the students. And organizations like that are to be mentioned because they offer things for resources for our families as well.
Right.
So each student got what's called a bedtime in a box. So yes, so this is a bedtime in a box. So in this box, each family for our program received the box during orientation.
Okay.
So when you enroll with us for our pre-K program, have orientation. It's just to help families understand what's expected of them and what's expected of us. And as a giveaway, again, supporting resources, we'd like to give them a box. So inside of the box, you'll see things like your preschool learning kit. So it has like your letters and your numbers and your counting. They have books, right? Like this is one of my favorite books, The Snowy Day. So just like those hardback books for students, some stuff that's like magnetic walls, like, everyone loves to play in the tub, right? So it's just resources in this box, including from things like personal hygiene care, books, etc. All learning manipulatives that really, really help to just set the pace of a routine for kids. We know that every family has different experiences in their home. We know that every family has things beyond their control. But resources like this and through our partnerships with other organizations, we just like to support the whole child and the whole family. So, again, from 8:30 to 3, you're going to get those pre-K services. And then with resources like that, you get that same support at home.
Yeah, and I think that it's really great that you're collaborating with outside partnerships. We partner with outside resources to provide extra resources for families, extra resources for students, whether that's, IEPs or working with resource centers to provide so much more than just teaching someone's child. It goes beyond that, like you said, the whole child. And that I feel like is needed for us to talk about more. Like we do so much more than just teaching kids letters and numbers at this point.
And then also, like, to us, we have a partner with the Judy Center, so the Fort Worth Intensive Center. They help us tremendously. They offer workshops for families. They help us to learn financial literacy, right? And again, those resources not only support the students and their families, but also the teachers, right? We all need to help our families win, right? So and that's just me naming surface level partnership. But yes, we do have a collaboration list, and these are requirements of the Maryland Pre-Kindergarten Expansion Grant. But not only are they requirements, sometimes I think as a provider, as a teacher, as a lifelong learner, we sometimes need to understand why something is asked of us, right? We do a good job at being told what to do, but sometimes when we don't have that buy-in and we don't understand why, we kind of make it like a chore.
And I think frustrated or something like that, like why,
So like I, as an educator, make sure my students understand why Miss Ivory is asking this of you. Because I think that buy-in, that understanding, this is important because it will XYZ, then now I'm committed to care. Now I'm called to answer and I'm empowered to sit in my seat because I know it'll keep me and my classmates safe right now, right? So just for us, really being able to understand the why and knowing that those things and those requirements from the grant really promise quality and high programming. That's what we're committed to. So one thing about my center and my staff and my team is that we will rise to the call because we're committed, and that's a really important thing.
Yeah, and I love that you spoke about the grant being allowing us to be high quality. It doesn't mean we don't want to, but meeting those markers and those standards allow us to be able to ensure that we are meeting that quality care. And I think that's a great thing when we're able to partner with, with MSDE and be an extra branch that's very much needed right now in the childcare community.
Exactly. And one thing I will say about the team, Dr. Washington, and her team specifically, our license our pre-K support specialist, Desiree Taylor, they are very supportive to us. We reach out with questions, we reach out with concerns, we reach out with pretty much anything, right? Just to share questions, to share experiences that our students have had, and they are really, really supportive, and that means a lot at the state level.
Shout out to the pre-K support specialist, because ours is Kanisha. Hi, Kanisha. And she always is willing to like answer
Exactly,
questions,
yes,
get
yes,
on a
yes.
Zoom call and answer our questions. So that, again, that support and being able to have the grant but have extra support is also, you know, necessary for us to be able to, you know, run a good quality program and
Exactly.
have somebody to go to.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And be in community. And I think that's what we're saying, like sharing your story in community.
Okay, so what about, tell me about staffing. Tell me about your staff. You know, you talked about your staff wanting to feel like they're part of a community, which, you know, in the childcare community, we both know that staffing can be really,
a challenge.
really difficult.
Yes.
It's a challenge. It's also just in general, people who
Mhm.
have programs and trying to retain good staff and to ensure that they are happy,
Yes.
yet walking that fine line to make sure that we are ensuring that things get done, to make sure that we're having that quality care. Yeah. So how do you feel like you know, delve into ensuring you have quality staff?
So I think the benefit of us, again, is that we have really good retention with our staff. My newest employee has been with us for 2 years, and our veteran employee has been with us since we got here 10 years ago.
Okay.
We've really done a good job at every time there's a concern, every time there's a red flag, in a sense,
Right.
we say, okay, do we have policies to help our staff know why this would not be a good choice or why we do something. So again, that same buy why in is important, whether it's at the staff level, the student level, or the teaching level, or the program compliance level as well.
Right.
So for me, I am a strong advocate of a work-life balance.
Right.
I am the travel queen, and my staff know Miss Ivy loves to go, right? Because I recognize very young the power of taking a break.
Yeah,
And so with that being said, with my staff, we built in time off.
Okay.
I give my staff Easter break or spring break, and that's coming up. We give my staff a summer break. We are closed all of the major state holidays, all of the major federal holidays. Again, they deserve mental health breaks. They deserve time with their families. They should not be stressed in their personal lives that, oh my goodness, I need to go to the doctor's, but my doctor's office and my work hours, what am I going to do? Those fears shouldn't exist for people, because what you create is a scarcity. And we have enough resources. So having that work-life balance, having systems in place for success and sustainability. And also, if I'm just being honest, just treating people well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those realities can be true. We all need money to live. We all need money to sustain. But I would much rather earn money that allows me to sustain what I need and be happy than be in a place of stress because my only buy-in or my why is because of the money that hits my account every 2 weeks.
Right.
So for us, I think, again, that culture and climate focus, those systems focus, that work-life balance focus, and my staff knowing that I am learning just like you. So if you see something that another program is doing, help me understand why that's important to you, and if you can, and see if we can talk about it, right? See if we can come up with a policy about it. We strategically attend conferences. On March 14th, we're going to the Baltimore City's Resource Center, the citywide with the family tree. We attend the Maryland State Childcare Association
I was going to ask you about that. We're going to
we attend every year. These are built-in professional development sessions in my calendar that do not change. Our staff is committed to success, right? So that gives them time to collect with colleagues who aren't the folks that we see every day. It allows them to learn from other educators, from other people who lead those sessions, and to really understand how can what they're saying impact me when I'm at work. Right? When I'm at Landscape Childcare, like supporting the families that we serve, supporting the people that come through our doors. How can we use what we've learned, what we already know, to bridge the gaps to promise success?
And I think that because people attribute childcare to low pay, it's not about low pay. I would say that most programs pay like not the lowest, but probably like in the middle. But how else can we incentivize for people to be able to still want to be in this industry? And I think you hit it on the marker, is that like making sure that we're checking in with people, making sure that there is other incentives, like following the school system schedule, right? So like we get the same days off as a school, right? And you know, it does trickle down to the families. Like we could do that, but then we would price out some of our families, so it doesn't, you know,
and then we're not meeting people where they are. It's not equitable.
It's not equitable, but we can ensure that we're creating positive work environments, that we
Yes.
are insensitizing by offering other things,
Correct.
and a sense of community. I feel like that is also equally
Important.
as I guess rewarding in the type of work that we do.
So I'm a lover of books. My favorite thing to do is read, and so we use a spot of curriculum. So it's a collection of social stories that teach children when I'm feeling this way, this is how I can handle that. Yes, of course. So I don't want this one, but I will take these. So in my hand right now, I love, 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 love reading. That has been my passion, tried and true. And so to support reading and just children's exposure to literacy and
Mhm.
books and resources in my classroom, specifically at our program, we have organized our books, but in my hand is the Spot of Feelings curriculum. So it really does a good job at helping students to understand all of their emotions,
Right.
to understand that all your emotions are valid and
Mhm.
that you need to feel all your emotions, because if we mute some as if they don't matter, we learn to suppress, we don't learn to control. So these are just like a spot of feelings, what to do when you're in a good mood, a spot of flexible teaching, flexible thinking, and my teaching brain clearly, a spot of flexible thinking, a spot of belonging, a story about yourself and how to make friends, a little spot of calm, I'm feeling focused, now what? A little spot of empathy, I'm feeling sad or misunderstood, or someone else may be feeling that. What can I do? Frustration, my favorite one. I'm angry.
Right.
Now what?
What do I do?
Now what?
Do I say
I can't scream and yell and fold my arms and hit things or throw things, because that
right?
doesn't help anything, right?
Yeah.
We still have the problem. So let's calmly figure out how do we manage that frustration, because you can be frustrated and we got to keep you safe, right?
Right.
So helping students understand that in peace, just because I'm upset. And it also, people think like, why does this matter? These things matter because as an adult, have you ever seen a road rage adult, right? So unfortunately, we have to take it up a notch and connect that gender piece, right?
Mhm.
Like I love telling my male students, no, please cry, right? Because
Right.
crying will make you feel better.
Right.
Right? Crying isn't weakness, crying is strength. That's a vulnerability for you to release that frustration,
Mm-hmm.
and it help you to calm your body. So that's regulation,
Yeah.
right? Versus if we don't teach children these things, we grow up to be adults who can't manage their emotions. And then that's when
We have a lot of
yeah.
adults that know how to, have that self regulation because they weren't taught it when they were younger.
So these are the most important years for the brain, right? For
Mhm.
that cognitive development. Let's put the positive things and the control pieces and the self-regulation in
Mhm.
there so our students thrive.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of the most important
Yeah.
pieces of the work that we do is the social emotional development of the child,
Yes.
especially in an age right now where reading is really not happening so much in the homes because of technology.
Yep.
And, we want to try to bring that back as much as possible, the language, the literacy,
Yep. Yep.
and the self, the
A
social
little spot
emotional.
of boredom. Literally what one of the whole books about.
Yeah.
I'm bored. And that's
That's
okay.
okay. Right.
And that's okay, because let's talk about all the things that happen when you are bored. Let's talk about how the brain calms down, how the brain, isn't overstimulated by input, right? Like whether that's noise, visual, etc. So I think this curriculum specifically and this resource is really important for educators. Yes.
That social emotional development piece is just so important in the work that we do.
From Port Discovery, we work with Miss Shelby, and she is an amazing educator there. And she came to our school, came to our center, and helped us to know the importance of play at the professional level.
Oh, wow.
So Port
Okay.
Discovery also offers a professional development session called Professionals at Play. They will come to your school. Yeah.
Okay.
So please
Yes.
contact Shelby. She's an amazing resource. When she came to visit our school, she read this book to us. The book is called The Color Monster, a pop-up book of feelings. Once she read that book to us, I knew I needed it. So my team and I each had a book, The Color Monster, in our classrooms, and it just tells you
I love that
like,
it's a pop up.
yes,
Yeah.
and like just like the words, like this one line, this is fear. It hides in the black shadows. When you're afraid, when you feel tiny, when you feel helplessness, it makes it hard to be brave. What if I feel all of these emotions? Like, it's just a really, really beautiful resource for children to understand in words that they can comprehend. using situations that they have experienced.
I feel like are so age appropriate. So we could probably do a whole
segment of it. Yes, exactly.
And why it's so important
Exactly.
for people to like.
And I just want to shout out my co-teacher, Miss Jones, because not only did she help lead this lesson, but she also came up with this amazing activity. So the feeling, so she made the jars, right? And like she used tape as a manipulative and really just kind of, read through the book and talked about the children, about their feelings and the pre-K kids. Our students were really able to understand those words. And then she asked the simplest question and they were really be able to answer that. And then they were able to kind of help her write their names and plug their feelings and learn that, all our feelings are valid, but let's learn to control them.
So what about the affirmations? It's a big part of your program, which I love affirmation. I love affirmation as an adult, but I love that you said that.
Yes. Affirmations for us happen after our turn and talk, and those words give the directional cues, but they also help them to understand that these words are speaking to your own bodies. So we say things like, I am loved, unique, I am brave, I am special, I am intelligent, I am capable, right? So they are highlighted on our mirror in our classroom, at the classroom level and also in the bathroom. So I've taken that same concept and put them on Velcro strips on the bathroom wall in the classroom and again in the students' bathroom, just so again they can really start to believe those things and affirm those things. And we conclude each morning meeting in this classroom saying, I have the power to make today a good day. I would be remiss if I didn't say that, right? So that specific affirmation sits on Miss Ivory because when Miss Ivory and my students, when we're having those tough moments, we look at each other and I say, you know what? Or am I going to make it a bad day?
Right. And it's important to just have those conversations with kids. Like people think maybe that they're too young to understand. Like, no, now is actually the time to teach that. And that will, again, create a foundation for them to be able to use all the way into adulthood.
We underestimate them until they're at like maybe like grandma's house and then grandma need help with that phone. And then she like, come over here and help me, right? So let's take that same energy and make our 3, our 4, our infants, our toddlers, our pre-K3, our pre-K4, our students, this world know that they can do things, right? They can do the hard stuff.
So you talk a lot about technology. So that is sometimes a hard conversation to have, right? Let's say how it was maybe like 10 years ago. How do you feel like technology has affects your children in your classroom?
So the funny thing is, while strolling my own phone, I saw this post the other day that spoke to the fact that sometimes when we're like mindlessly scrolling, we don't realize the dopamine that we're sending to our brains.
I saw a whole article about that, and it was really intriguing to me.
We don't realize that like we're teaching ourselves quick, instant gratification. And what happens when life doesn't have quick, instant gratification, right? So I would be not telling the truth if I said there were not opportunities in our program where and in our classroom schedule that we interiorate technology, right? We do have classroom iPads. And we use those iPads to do things like Scholastic.
Right.
We let our students listen to read alouds. My students love to go to the library and pick out a book and let someone on YouTube, like a read aloud specialist, read it to them. So that's from my standpoint, an appropriate use of technology.
Yeah.
Right. I think sometimes when life gets busy, when life gets hectic, we sometimes start to use technology in inappropriate ways, or we misuse resources
as a crutch.
The realities are life can be busy, life can be hectic, life can be stressful, and again, that instant quick gratification is. But I do challenge adults, families, folks who have children, that we all just need to sometimes take a step back and make sure that we're being mindful of how often we're using it and then the ways in which we're using it. And I think that really, like that self-assessment will tell you what you need to know. If you look at, I think even if I'm true, if you track like your iPhone use status, it tells you like what apps you spend the most time on. Kind of do a self-report, right? Some internal system.
You have to be self-aware.
Exactly.
Right?
And see how are you using it. And if the number you see makes you have a reaction, whether it's a quote unquote positive reaction or quote unquote, oh, I need to fix something reaction, listen to that voice, listen to your natural response and do something about it.
Yeah, and I would suggest, them doing it on their kids' iPads as well, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
purpose
Mm-hmm.
is not to demonize technology. AI is here to stay.
Correct.
Technology is here to stay. Just
Correct.
like back in the 60s when they had the TV and everyone was
Mm-hmm.
demonizing it,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not to
Mm-hmm.
demonize it, but how can we use that as a resource versus a crutch
Exactly.
and make it a resource to make our lives easier,
Correct.
but not necessarily to have it'd be like a crutch like your kids are on there all the time,
Yeah.
but it could be used as a resource for like maybe things like learning or intentional strategies of
Right.
it.
Or like use it in the kitchen. Every kid likes to say, "Hey Siri,"
Right, yeah.
"Hey Google," "Hey
Right,
Alexa,"
right.
right? Like those AI, those compatibilities, those smart devices. Use them to your family's benefit at
Mhm.
large, and I guarantee the relationship and how you respond to folks when they try to demonize technology,
Right,
your response will be different because you can say in confidence, we use a lot of technology in my family, but we use it in a way that helps us.
right,
And if
exactly.
that's the way you're using technology, then there's no harm in ever needing help. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you respond, pivot, and shift as needed,
Mhm.
but not saying unrealistic things like I'm never going to use these things
And my
or
kid is never going to
and
use
my
an
kid's
iPad.
never going to
Well,
have it.
like,
And it's like, well, good luck with
right.
that. We got to have
Yeah.
some real uncomfortable conversations with ourselves to make
Yeah.
sure that how we react to things at large are appropriate.
Right. So, how do you guys use technology? I know you mentioned the iPads. How do you
Yes.
use technology at a administrative level?
Yep.
Anything else that you guys use in terms of
So we use a
technology?
lot of the Google programming
Okay.
every day for just tracking like attendance and just like the logistical stuff for overall program operation, right? And those are systems in place to help us. I
Right.
would be lying if I said, oh, we like if I didn't have those resources, tracking data and communicating
Yes.
with people would be like snail mail and impossible and
Right.
frustrating.
Fail for
So like
that.
for
Right.
billing, for family communication, for just outreach and just being able to really um, help bring the program to success at all levels.
Mhm.
I think that is something that we forget how the smallest uses of technology really benefit
Yes.
this program for
Yes.
sure. So
Running a program, absolutely. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
yep.
So, what would you say to someone who is entering the childcare field and wants to open up a childcare center?
That's a really good question. My advice would be to make sure you're doing it because you have a passion. You know, sometimes in this life, we see certain roles or certain opportunities that other people have had, and you kind of get that green-eyed monster, right? That's a
Right.
real feeling. And sometimes people get on these platforms and they're like, oh, I'm gonna open up my own childcare center or my own daycare because of blah 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 blah. We
Right.
talk about the situation in Minnesota when we
Yes.
talked about it
Yes.
conversationally and how
Yeah.
right now that took a lot of spotlight, and honestly how it has impacted how programs in Maryland are being respected, right? Like we
Yes.
don't even we're miles and miles away, and people are
Absolutely.
looking at us like, see that because it what people don't realize is that it's a domino effect. So because of situations like those, and not just that situation, because unfortunately these instances are not isolated,
Hmm.
they are gathering more media attention, and rightfully so. But it lets people think that, well, maybe other programs need to be kind of scrutinized as well,
Hmm.
because is there fraud happening in other programs? And that is not the reality,
It's
right?
not.
Because
Not as a
then
whole.
programs
Right.
who are doing high quality work and high quality practices and whose heart and soul and energy are committed to this work, we get outshadowed,
Yeah.
and then we start to have our lights pushed down and demonized, and other people who are not doing things the right way, or
Yeah.
social media gain, or
Right.
just populism, if those are your values, and you don't have the systems to sustain. And one thing our governor said at a meeting I was with, um, that we attended, that he was presenting at, something he said to me is that you have to do things from seed to scale strategically. And if your seed to scale and strategic systems and operations don't promise success, quality, and true outcomes that are measurable by the success of your students, the population that you're serving, you're not doing it for a good reason.
Right.
And then I wouldn't say that you would be a good fit to doing this
Yeah.
work. But if your story is like mine or like others, I look forward to working in partnership with you,
Right.
because one thing I know for sure is that this world is so large and there are so many families who need our resources. We need
Yeah.
more soldiers in this work, but we need soldiers who are committed, soldiers who are doing it for real reasons and
Right.
soldiers who are ready.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's great advice. And I think that you speak volumes as to talking about why you're doing it.
Mhm,
The
mhm,
why is important. They're in it
mhm,
because they genuinely love kids. They
mhm.
genuinely have a passion to serve. It's to
Yeah.
serve, right? It takes a little piece of you because you're serving, like, you're
Exactly.
serving. And
Yeah.
so, for those people that are,
Mhm.
looking to open up a childcare center, you need to make sure that you are doing it for the right reasons.
To do it because you love it
Right.
and not because on Friday this grand scam number hit your
Yeah,
account,
right,
right?
right.
So
Happens on top
exactly.
of that.
But good things come to good people.
And childcare, providers and owners and directors are the hardest working people that I've ever met, and
Exactly.
also the most passionate in what they do too. All right, so thanks for joining us today.
No problem. I'm happy to be here.
And this concludes the first episode of the Childcare Spotlight.